you can't buy engagement. You can't buy enthusiasm. That comes from the heart. It really comes from meaningful conversations about the business, about themselves. So making it about them, And some of the things that I do, I think, is just be there, be present with your employees and your team members. If they text you, if they call you, if they email you, how quickly are you responding? Shows your level of care, because your level of care is going to determine their level of care.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward. Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 133 with myself, Trevor Cowley. As always, Kel Goodman.
What's up, friends?
Guys, today we have a certified badass. I don't know any other way to describe it. This individual, whether he knows it or not, we watch him from afar. We follow you on the gram and see what you're doing. He's out there, running and gunning, hustling, traveling all over the U.S., opening up a bunch of Everbowl stores. He's been a part of this brand for, I think, since pretty much day one or very, very early on. So we want to welcome Brian. It's Augustine?
Yes, sir. It's Augustine. Thank you guys so much.
So
it's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you here.
No, for real.
We get you. This is your first podcast you've ever been on. You told me, and I'm like, hell yeah.
When Trevor asked me last night, I was just like,
awesome. You seem like you kind of like, well, you want me on the podcast? Yeah.
Well, because you see all these high level guys come in here that just have these awesome stories, and I'm like, okay,
well, everybody's short.
Everybody's got a story, right?
Yeah, everybody's got a story, but a lot of people like to shortchange their story and think that somebody else's is better or greater, and then they, kind of diminish what they've ultimately accomplished or some of the sacrifices that they've made to get where they are as well, right? So we always like to focus on other people's story and don't think ours is very important. I know that we kind of felt that when we first talked about doing a podcast, like, what are we going to talk about? What value could we bring to the marketplace on a podcast? But then, we did it, and obviously we've got something to bring.
Right, yeah. Some people like
it. People are listening still, so either they're super bored or else we kind of know what we're doing. So
you're doing something that doesn't cost everybody anything.
Yeah. It's just free information, and hopefully they take it and apply it. And guys, we really wanted Brian on because this individual is out there hustling hard for a business. Is he the actual owner of the business? No, but he's been around so early on that he started to acquire shares of the business. And it's just a lesson for a lot of people. When you find a business that you believe in that might be in the startup phase or the baby phase, infancy phase, whatever you want to call it, that's something that I think a lot of people take for granted. It's a startup. Everybody wants to work for these big companies like it's something cool for their resume. But people don't understand when you go out there and just jump into a big company, it's that much harder to kind of climb the corporate ladder in those businesses.
And you're going into a job.
Right. And you're going into a job. Exactly.
Which is fine for some people, right? But what's the ceiling there versus the ceiling of going all in on something you believe in with infinite potential, which you're seeing? You know what I mean?
So how long have you been with Everbowl total?
So March will be 5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
So is it true that you were one of the first hires? Is that an accurate?
So Jeff hired a team of 7,
and
that was October of 2016. So we just celebrated 5 years as a company for store number 1.
Wow.
And then I came in March, and at that time he had like 20 employees there.
Gotcha.
But he hired me for a specific reason, and that was to help grow.
Gotcha.
And it was the people.
What was your background prior to that? Like, why would they pick you to help grow? I mean, obviously I see it now, but they had to see something prior to knowing what you were capable of and what we all see now, and you're doing an amazing job with it. But what did they see prior, whether it was resume? Did you know somebody? Did you have an in? Kind of how did that work out?
So I didn't know Jeff at all. And I was just telling Kel that my brother-in-law, Eric, did all the design work. So the graphic art that you see, anything you see online or in the store, Eric designed with, obviously Jeff's direction and vision. And he came up and visited me Thanksgiving of 2016 and was like, dude, my neighbor and my friend just started this superfood restaurant in Poway. He's like, but he needs somebody that knows how to open stores, develop people, and improve processes. And he's like, with all your experience at Trader Joe's, Like you open stores in 4 multiple
get
states.
Get up in there, yeah.
Get up in there, and their culture too, which Jeff was really big on, right? I flew down 3 times to kind of.
Where were you? Where were you located?
Corvallis, Oregon.
Okay, so you were in Oregon. The first store was in California.
Yep.
So you were popping down there, just kind of vibing it out,
checking it out, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the best acai bowl I've ever had." And it's the coolest environment. Every person that walked in was stoked.
Yeah,
it seemed like Jeff knew everybody. Right?
Yeah, he had his regulars and all that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure like he was there every day.
Yeah.
And when I came, I came in March and started, and we were working together for a week, and then it was like he was able to go out, and he's like, okay, somebody can run my business, and now I can go out and grow this thing.
Yep.
And
so he was stuck running the day-to-day operations, and ultimately plateaued the business because he's too much in the weeds, and he needed somebody in there kind of having his back, operating it the way that he would want it to be operated, so that he can venture off and start focusing on the actual growth of the brand itself.
And
right.
As a good leader, you need to identify somebody, put the right people in the right places, right, at all levels.
Yeah.
And he didn't really know me. He just trusted Eric's, identifying me as that person that could do it. And
well, sometimes when you just know, when you meet certain people, you just know, you know what I mean? Like, it's
what was interesting though is like you sit there on day one and you're like, yeah, we want to open up 40 of these things, and you're going, yeah, okay, like we could do that. But that's saying it is one thing, and doing it, watching it, executing it, and the whole enjoying the process and making sure that you're not getting lost in the finish line. That you're enjoying each and every moment. And I came down because I have a passion for superfoods. When, like I was telling you guys earlier, took care of my mom when she in the year 2000, she was had a brain tumor and it was terminal illness. I fell in love with superfoods, and I had this vision that at some day I was going to be a part of a national brand that brought superfoods to the masses in one shape or another. I didn't know how it was going to be. I didn't know the vehicle or the vessel that we were going to deliver it in. It just turned out to be Everbowl 20 years later. It's really cool. Like it's
So you put this idea and this concept of what you really wanted out of your life.
It's like you talk about manifesting on your guys' podcast a lot, and I feel like that was
a part of that.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
And not enough people do that. Not enough people realize that, you can put stuff out there, but I think a lot of people let it kind of fizzle after 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. They're expecting things to happen maybe a little bit quicker than what is reality.
They give up.
They give up. They give up on it. And I was just watching you last night and talking to Kel and Brent, and it's just like, dude, you're just so great at what you do, and you're just so welcoming to every individual that walks in the door. You make an impression on every single person that you meet, which is super rare, but also I believe that's also the reason why you are where you are, helping run this entire franchise at a very, very high level and flying around. I mean, how often are you in a plane on a month-to-month basis?
Yep. 2021 has been traveling a lot. 15 states, 31 St. George's City, 31.
Gotcha.
We've done almost 20 stores this year.
Yeah.
We still have 2 more to open.
Where at?
Which is incredible. So next week in Taylor's, South Carolina.
Cool.
Which is just outside of Greenville. And Greenville is in between Charlotte and Atlanta.
Okay.
Great, beautiful community. Okay. Out of all of the cities I traveled this year, Greenville and St. George really stood out. So,
I was going to say, dude, cool. I was going to let you finish that one before I razzed you a little bit if you didn't bring
cities.
up. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's so cool to know, because my wife, she's been saying for like a year with Kristen and the ladies, like, I want to go to South Carolina. I'm like, I've never looked at that. I'm like, what's there, And then we've been like talking about buying, Airbnbs all around the country that we can use and also make money on. And she's like, I want to go look at South Carolina, So that's cool to know. I'm going to go check it out with her.
And Knoxville's Knoxville's right up there too.
Yeah,
gorgeous. It's like that little slice of Americana. Beautiful downtown, very clean, close to a university. So you always it's active.
Yeah,
active, dude. I actually really like little Corvallis too. I took my son to a baseball camp there one year, and I was like, this is a pretty little university town.
So I found my second home in Corvallis. I love
beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
That's cool.
It's in between Eugene
Your
and
third home needs to be St. George.
I would love it to.
Now Jeff, he was hitting me up at one point. He's like, hey, where could I buy? A home, a second home in St. George, because he loves St. George as well. So we kind of gave them a few pointers. One was out at San Hollow, or what's the other one out there by the airport?
Right out by my house.
No,
not that one. So our town's super weird.
Yeah,
you
Desert
have
Color.
to be in a zoned Airbnb area or vacation rental area. They're very strict on it in our community, and it's getting that way in a lot of states. It's been that way for a while here. So there's really only like 3 or 4 places Jeff can really pick from
if he's trying to Airbnb
certain areas, and so we showed him a few.
Laverican, I'm sure you can. I think that you have the ability. Some of the smaller towns, they allow it. But St. George doesn't allow it. Some of the smaller stuff on the outskirts will allow it. But
do they call it like overnight rentals permissible? Like I noticed some signs that said that in front of communities, like on the way out to San Hollow Resort.
Yeah,
because that new community.
You have to go through and get it zoned and approved by planning and zoning committee and all that.
Well,
stuff.
they advertise it because it's a rarity, right? So and anybody that's selling a home that has the ability to Airbnb, it's like double the price.
Yeah.
So a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot home could be 600,000 to 700,000, 800,000, but if you can Airbnb it, it's 1.5.
Yeah,
because they know how much money that you can generate off of that. So
a business, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Your house is a business.
Yeah, pretty much. That's really what it comes down to.
I really don't know much about Airbnb, but I have 2 rental properties in the state of Washington because I lived up there for a while, and I want to do that or sell.
Yeah,
but I just need. I think I just a little bit more research to kind of understand how that works.
Let's jump into just culture just for a second, because you do such an amazing job in that area, in that aspect. Obviously, you do a great job in many aspects, but that's kind of one of your things, right? What are some of the things that you do that help bring energy into the business or help make the employees enthusiastic about what they're doing? Like, share some tips for individuals, because I honestly think that that's the difference of something that can be hyper successful versus something that sees enough success for you to live good, right? Is culture.
Yeah, and I think culture is like a buzzword, right? A lot of companies like to use like, we have a great culture, or they have a great culture. He's a good culture guy, right? And you think of, okay, culture is like everybody's happy, and you got high fives and pizza parties and stuff like that. Like everything's just fun.
If you throw a pizza party, let me know, bro.
But I came up in a system that's, we said and preached and coached that you can't buy engagement. You can't buy enthusiasm. That comes from the heart. It really comes from meaningful conversations about the business, about themselves. So making it about them, And some of the things that I do, I think, is just to be there, be present with your employees and your team members. If they text you, if they call you, if they email you, how quickly are you responding? Shows your level of care, because your level of care is going to determine their level of care. Whether it's a health and safety issue, or it's a customer experience thing, or a productivity thing, like those 3 levels. How well did you coach them?
So if they feel like that you don't care, then they're just like, well, why would I care?
Yes,
type
exactly.
situation. If they feel like that they're working for somebody that actually values them and cares for them and appreciates them, then they're ultimately going to go above and beyond or do what you would hope for them to do, which is serve a customer at a high level.
And some people will think that culture is also related to performance reviews, and it's not. It's everything in between that, and how well you did coaching them, training them. You were a mentor with them.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have to be a best friend, but on some level, there's that personal care, and I think these generations coming up appreciate the fact that, hey, my boss / owner, leader actually cares about me. They know my family's name. They know, what I do for extracurricular activities. They actually are stoked on that for me.
Actually ask you how you're doing and listen.
Well, people don't leave where they're loved, right? Like we had a friend tell us that not too long ago, and we're big on culture too. And it's like, it's hard because we're developing other leaders to take over our roles, but there's still these relationships. But at the end of the day, that's what we have to preach to our leaders, and we have to show them. And because we show that to them, they're now showing it to them. And really, it's a great strategy because, it's a killer in business if you have a high turnover rate, and if people just don't feel appreciated and loved and seen and heard and all that stuff, like they're going to leave. You know what I mean? They're loyal to how they feel, right? And so if you make them feel that way by actually truly caring about them and responding to them and giving that effort to them, like, dude, you're going to have somebody stay loyal to you for a long time, and it's good for business, but it's also just great for culture and you enjoying where you're at too.
That's what I was just going to point out. The reality is you have to be in that environment too. Why would you want to go into a negative environment? So if if you don't want to be in a negative environment, why aren't you being the individual that's injecting positivity in that environment that affects other people? So the days that you're not feeling it or you're down, you're going into a positive environment, right? Don't be the individual that makes an environment negative, because you ultimately have to work in that environment. Sometimes employees, will get together with other employees if one has something to bicker about and they want to bicker about it with somebody else. And then, now there's little groups, little teams of people.
Toxic.
Yeah. Toxic environments, cancerous environments where it really, because I said something negative and then you say something negative to Kel, and Kel's, and then it just becomes this. But that's the environment that you have to work in. Like, you wouldn't want somebody to come up to you and just spew negativity about what they're doing or about an issue that happened. So why are you giving an ear to somebody else? And that's a conversation I had over there at 60-day credit repair. Is salespeople have great weeks some weeks and they're on a high. And if they have a couple bad weeks, they're in a major, major low, right? So their attitude flows with the type of numbers that they put up. And so I went over there and was like, you guys, you need to understand, this is your environment. It's harder to put up numbers in a negative environment. So are you contributing to a positive environment, or are you contributing to a negative environment? And if you're part of the individual that's being negative, you're only hurting yourself long-term. You're hurting the company long-term. You're hurting all the people that you work around long-term, but yet you say that person's your friend, but you want to spew negativity at that individual that's ultimately going to just hold them back. So let's check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Check the gossip circles.
Yeah, pretty much is really what it comes down to. And so everybody has the ability to affect the environment they're in, and that's what the owners need to understand. That's what employees need to understand. Management needs to understand. And people will piggyback off of whatever energy that you're giving them. That's just a fact, right? They say, somebody of high energy can pull somebody up. Somebody with negative energy can pull somebody down, yep. Right? And most people operate at this neutral energy where they can go in either direction because they're not fully taking control of the energy that they're putting out there. So they're neutral. So if I'm around a negative person, here I am. I drop down to the negative. Oh, all of a sudden I'm around a positive person. Now I'm positive. And you're letting your emotions be dictated by the type of individuals that you're around, right? Versus you just dictating the environment. You be the environment. You be the thermometer to where you bring people up versus bringing people down, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big game changer when people start understanding that the environment that they have to work in is somewhere they have to be for 8 hours a day or however long. Why not invest into the environment that you're most often in and make sure that it's a positive ecosystem so that you look forward to going? Will it be perfect every single day? Absolutely not. Are there going to be negative things that happen at work? Absolutely. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be negative. That's just life. Bad things happen, curveballs happen. It just is what it is. And your attitude about it will ultimately dictate how your life turns out. And I bet you your life is turned out the way that it has, and you're seeing the success that you're seeing based upon the energy that you bring and the attitude that you bring on a day-to-day basis, because that ultimately attracts opportunities. And here you are, high level at Everbowl, not based upon the fact that you're some master's degree, this, that, the other, business, this. It's just the energy and attitude that ultimately draw people to you. And I see that, we saw that last night sitting there watching you do your thing, dude. And it was just, it was beautiful to watch. I'm not going to lie. I was very, very impressed. And I even made that post about it.
Do you have like a strategy and structure to developing your culture? Like, is that something that you and Jeff and you got the high level teams, like, here's our structure, here's how we infuse it, and like, what are those checklists look like?
So we have a structure in place that we like during training, when we have a new hire come on board, we talk about core values and the history of Everbowl, because we feel like that's really important.
Have them buy into the actual concept from day one.
And that shows like a high level care and understanding about your company. The mission statement, our 5 core values: making friends, having fun, being remarkable in everything you do, integrity, and Kaizen. And we go through each
say
of
that
those.
last one again, bro.
Kaizen.
So I don't know what Kaizen is,
dude. Kaizen is a Japanese philosophy, and it means incremental improvements as opposed to wholesale changes. So getting 1% better every day.
Rather than looking for the home run.
Tony Robbins teaches it quite a bit. Tony Robbins does, yeah, and that's how Corey named his son Kaizen.
Oh yeah, he did say that in Arizona when we were in Arizona, dude. That shows you how great of a listener I am. Maybe I'm not the best at culture. Sorry, Corey.
It's a cool. It's a cool.
So Toyota
cool
adopted that principle in the 70s, and then Trader Joe's, that was one of their core values. And I thought, why not bring that to Everbowl? So just getting better, a little bit better every day. What did I do today to make my company better?
Yeah.
As a store leader, what did I do today to make my store better? What are some of the actions that I'm doing? And then, of course, going back to making friends and having fun. At our store, in retail, restaurant, it's about connecting with the customer.
Absolutely.
And really coaching that to your teams while you're there, while you visit the stores.
Well, I see that you guys live that.
If you can, each of your conversations with your employee, and you base it off of the core values, and you remark about those, and you talk about that, and you keep coaching them up, they're going to appreciate that. And pretty soon, that's going to kind of trickle down the butterfly effect into all of your locations.
Right.
With 1 or 2 stores, you're going to be kind of more hands-on, and it might be less needed to have like a super strong culture because one person can do it.
Yeah.
But with 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus locations, you really do have to have a structure in place.
Yeah.
Core values help.
So when you talked about getting, 1% better, that made me think of just the whole concept of what you did last night in terms of bringing in people individually, explaining everything to them that's on the menu, what's in the food. Here's all this cool stuff about Everbowl, where it sears this first impression of this business in their mind where they were welcomed. They had a great explanation of what it is that they're ultimately choosing, right?
Educated.
Educated, informed about what's on the menu so that they can make a better decision versus just opening the doors and letting people come in, grab a bowl, and then walk out. Their only impression at that point is the taste of the food. So what type of experience are you ultimately creating to sear a memory in that individual's mind to where every time they now think about your brand, they're going to think about what? That very first experience. They say you can never have a second chance at that first impression, right? And so I was watching you do that each time and bring people in and just really give them that 1 to 2 minutes of attention and just really making eye contact. Dude, I absolutely loved it, and again was blown away by it. But then you came and said, it took us 30 stores to figure this one out, and so you guys are living some of the concepts that you just talked about in finding ways to get better. It's not like, okay, cool, we've got a wonderful product that tastes delicious. Let's let the product do the selling. That's just not how it works. They're trying to find ways. How can we make the experience just a little bit better? How can we sear a memory in their mind so when they think of Everbowl, it's always positive, right? And you guys are doing that, and you're continuing to make those little teeny tweaks or changes. And I think a lot of businesses fail because they think that they need to make, again, massive changes right. And then this and that. It's like being on a radio station. Sometimes it's just that one little turn of the dial, just that one click, and everything's now clear. So I think a lot of people aren't way off in their business on what they're doing. I think that they just need to look for those little minute things that they could change, that 1% here, 1% there. So then they find that groove that then they can just continue to run their business. But that doesn't mean don't get comfortable because you guys were all the way up to 30 stores. You were getting a lot of momentum. You guys easily could have said, hey, we've got all the momentum we need. We're good to go. We don't need to change anything, but you're always just improving. And that's something that I was super impressed by.
And I feel like taking the philosophy of I'm waking up unemployed every day. I got to go out there and make it work. I got to go out there and make it happen with my business, with my company, for people like you that invested in these stores.
Yeah.
I want to make it better. And it's about the customers. It's how can I make their experience better, whether it's a VIP, a community event, or they're coming in on a Monday at lunch.
Yeah.
How can I make it really memorable for them and touch their hearts?
Right.
Make the product the star, but also talk about them, compliment them, talk about other things than just
and people
be transactional.
Yeah, well, people don't understand, like, if a business is struggling, by default, they're just thinking about them. Like, how can I bring in more money? How can I bring in more? And they're very, very, very selfish in that regard because maybe they're in a tight position or whatever, and they're not necessarily looking at the fact that if they changed their focus and got away from themselves and got more focused on the customer and the customer's experience, by default, they would be taken care of. Sometimes it's not just a straight path. Like, okay, I'm struggling with my business. What can I do? I do it. No, what can you do for the people that ultimately give you the ability to stay in business? Get the attention off of you, get it onto the right people, and then everything else will start taking care of itself and you'll be fine. I think they need to get out of their own head a little bit more and think a little bit more about the people that they're serving, because the people that they're serving are ultimately the ones keeping their lights on, not themselves,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
And as long as you keep that close to heart, you have the ability to build something big. And I mean, you guys need to understand this company's 5 years. You guys just celebrated 5 years and there's 52 stores open. And I bet there's a waiting list of how many?
180 plus.
180 plus Everbowls on the
Over the
waiting
next 5
list
years.
to get built out over the next 5 years. Yep.
I'm glad we made that investment in the corporate too.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We did the corporate investment and then also the franchise investment as well. And to be honest with you, did we do that before even trying the food? I think we did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's because
When was your first time trying it? Was it January? Avengers?
No, I went up to Salt Lake.
Okay.
But it was probably not more than a few months prior to that. We made the investment, and a lot of people like will ask us in DM, like, how do you determine what investments you guys make? Like, what's a good investment? And we're like, people, dude, the people behind it.
Yeah.
You know, like after meeting Jeff and seeing his, or hearing his story, he was on the podcast and he kind of explained how it all came about. And you start surrounding yourself with individuals, you're just betting on the people. You're like, dude, these are just good human beings that are out there making a positive impact in the world, and they're just doing it right. It don't matter if they're selling a fucking widget or if they're selling a bowl of açaí. They're the type of individual that's going to make something work no matter what it is that they're doing. I just loved açaí bowls, and I hated the fact that we just didn't have good ones here in town. You know, there's Jamba Juice, and it's like a bowl of soup. You know, I don't know if I'm gonna get defamation lawsuit here or what. I don't give a shit.
It's not as thick, right? Yeah.
But yeah, it actually. So if you get a bowl from there and you drive home, you're just it's literally soup.
And you want to like it. You're not going there to buy a bad product.
No.
But once you taste it, you're just like, this isn't, the quality is not there.
And at the same time, if that's the best that we have in town, that's the best that we have in town, and I
Exactly.
got to make do until an Everbowl comes in. And
That's
so we
it.
took charge and decided like. I mean, you could tell just by the pictures, dude.
Yeah, they look beautiful.
That shit
The
is
pictures do
good.
sell it well.
Yeah,
But
like-
my wife and I, we went up there too after we'd already invested in everything.
Yeah.
And now my kids, every time we're in Pleasant Grove or the Utah
We
County
go to
area, they're like,
Everbowl.
yeah, they love it. And I'm just like, dude, it's sweet. It worked out, right? Because our best investments have come from the team that we invest into, the Wags, the Jeff, right? Like we bet on the jockey, right? And so, but when you go and try it yourself, and you're like, yes, I love it, I can believe in it. Dude, double score, right?
And like you guys were talking about, it's the experience too, in addition to the product.
Yeah.
So you're going in and it's just this little escape, right? It's this little escape from the town. You go in, there's good music playing.
Yeah.
There's fun people there.
It's just a different vibe.
Smiles.
It's
a different vibe.
It's a vibe.
Exactly.
You know, because when you want, like, if I walk into Jamba, it ain't a vibe, fool. It ain't a vibe. I went and got a smoothie today. You should have opened today at 9 because I needed some food. But I went to Jamba and got a little smoothie, and you just walk in and there's like, hi, what can I get you today? You know, it's just like dreary.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, no, I swear to God.
That's a perfect word.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, hey, I guess thanks for coming in. I'm like, thanks for the smoothie, I guess. You know, I needed it.
So going back to culture, I think a great statement is culture is the next person you hire.
Yeah.
Because I think recruiting right now and hiring is challenging.
Yeah.
So don't panic,
That's
hire.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right?
We've
Don't
done
panic,
that.
hire.
We've done that.
And you
We're
end
like
up-
we end up in a shittier situation
I'd rather
down the
work
road.
longer hours,
Yeah.
more days a week, and wait for the right person.
Right.
Dude,
And-
we've like, oh shit, we needed an accountant. And it's like the next one that comes in to interview is like, you're hired. And then like 3 or 4 months later, we're like, you're fired.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yes.
yeah. So
And to be, I think Gary Vee said this, to be great at building a company, you better get good at firing too.
Yeah. It's true.
that is true. And
I've heard
and
Gary
that's,
say it, and he says it well.
yeah, it's not a fun thing to do, but it's a necessary evil for the greater good. And one thing that I think, you're not doing the individual that's underperforming any favors.
Exactly.
If anything, you're teaching. You know, we've had buddies work for us that I let go, and then they ended up going to
crushing it somewhere,
crushing it,
yes.
like crushing it. He stopped by the shop last night, but he's absolutely completely changed his life in terms of income, in terms of just where he is. And I think sometimes, especially working for friends, you just, sometimes you kind of take advantage of the situation, right. Show up
manipulate
when you want,
the show.
Whatever. And then when that's kind of taken away from you, it's like you're a little shell shocked for a second, maybe, but then you start taking life a little bit more seriously and realize, well, I can't screw around forever. Exactly. I need to finally take something serious, and that's what he did. And I mean, if we would have never done that, maybe he'd still be here, not doing what he's doing right now. Who knows? But people need to try to change their perspective on letting somebody go, because it does suck so much, but you've got to try to find the right perspective that you're not doing all of your other employees any favors. You're not doing your business any favors, and you're not doing the individual that's underperforming any favors. Right. Eventually, maybe it takes them 3 times or 4 times getting fired before they snap out of it and say, shit, I need to take life serious and I need to take work a little bit more serious. But eventually, hopefully, they'll come to that realization. And, if you're a good employer, hopefully you'll sit down with them and say, hey, here's why it's not working, and maybe give them some positive feedback. I like you as a human being. You're a super, super rad person, but you're not performing the way that you should perform. So it just is what it is.
You'll be a great fit somewhere else, but it's not here.
Yeah, exactly. So
and they're tough conversations, but typically those are they're necessary.
Yeah.
And they should.
Are you good at it? Are you good at letting people go? Now you're just like, you're fired. Like, it's just easy for you.
Trump style. You're fired.
Yeah. My goal when I go into like a conversation where there's going to be a termination involved is to either get a handshake or a hug
by the time it's over.
And
that's cool.
Yeah,
I've hugged a lot of people on the way out.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Because it's not a bad thing. I feel bad too.
You're not,
I feel
not
bad
a bad
too.
guy.
And I
it
wish
doesn't
them
come
well.
from a bad place.
No,
you're not a bad person or like an overlord.
Yeah,
you're trying to run a business and make it better, and some people don't perform. And they're not meeting expectations over a period of time. If you're developing them and they're still not performing, and you've given them a lot of chances, then it's time to have that conversation. Yeah. I've interviewed so many people. I've opened and hired a lot of stores in addition to Everbowl. So with Trader Joe's, I opened 4 buildings, and we're interviewing over 1,000 people per store. I was going to say
hundreds probably,
And so in Salem, Oregon, when we opened in 2011, I had a line around the building for 3 days.
Damn.
1,500 applicants plus.
Damn.
And we hired a team of like 75 to 80 people.
Damn.
In Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Did you through all this process, have you found ways to find the right people, or is there what are the right questions to ask or to look for on a resume? I know if I see a resume and it says they have a new job every 6 months, I'm like, fuck. So I don't like that. Like, I'm looking for somebody who wants to be a part of something a little bit longer. And so sometimes if I like the person or whatever, I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. Why are you jumping so much? And sometimes they'll say, I'm looking for something long term. They just, these haven't been it.
You're looking for reliability.
And right? I get people need to flirt with different things to find out what they like and what they're good at. So I try to take it, with a grain of salt, so to speak, and still give them an opportunity to explain why. But if I don't like the explanation, they're screwed.
We work.
How do you guys do it?
Yeah, we work off of a structured interview sheet.
Okay.
So I think it's important that anybody that applies to your business, that you give them the opportunity to either interview or talk to them on the phone.
Yeah.
I think it's like the professional thing to do. And I think the correct way to go about it is to ask the same questions to every single applicant that's in front of you. Mm. With us, it tends to be people from 16 to 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's very conversational, very friendly. It's not an interrogation. I'm not shining the light on their head, right? I want to get to know, are they enthusiastic?
Yeah.
Are they doing anything extracurricular? Are they in their ASB? Are they playing sports? Athletes tend to be like, they're high performers, high achievers.
Well, yeah, they're just a little more disciplined.
Exactly.
Show up on time. They do their work. You don't have to oversee them as much.
Tell me about a tough teammate that you had to play with. How did you deal with that situation? Right. Tell me about some of the other things you do at school outside of just doing homework.
Right.
What else are you interested in? And then it's you're hiring based on personality, not on experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because you can coach up the skills.
Yeah.
We're making açaí bowls. We're having fun.
Yeah.
We're cutting strawberries 40% of the time. Yeah. It's not
How
hard.
good are you with knives?
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Have you ever cut yourself?
Have you ever stabbed your coworker?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's not over, but then you take that to the next level, right? You're looking for somebody here who has skills, right? Yeah. But you can take a similar structured interview form and work off of that.
I like that because I don't do that. I just vibe it, for
and
the
you
most part.
that.
And I just ask whatever questions are coming up at that time. But I like that it's a little bit more structured so that you're kind of getting a base of reactions on the same questions.
Especially if you have a stack of 100, 50 to 100 interviews, you need to be able to
a little bit.
file them. So,
and it's less work and less energy on your brain if you actually go into knowing what you're going to ask rather than your brain's, okay, what do I need to ask next, and you'll get lost a little bit or burn out by the time you hit 30 interviews or whatever it is. Right.
And I always have 3 manila folders and I label them Y, N, and NFW. Yes, no, and no fucking way.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it.
The no fucking way gets into the trash.
Exactly.
The no fucking way is just a post-it on the trash can.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. I'm going to put that in the no fucking way file in cabinet, and it's going out to the trash.
But when you're interviewing a dad, right, which we've all done, I look at them the same way. Like, high energy, thank you so much for coming. Like, I really appreciate it. Yeah. If it doesn't work out, we had 1,500 applicants or we had 75 applicants. I hope to see you in the store next week at our opening. Yeah. And then keep in contact with me.
Yeah. There still could be customers as well, and I want to piggyback on one more thing that when we were talking about letting people go, what listeners need to understand, if you're kind of turning the other cheek, so to speak, on underperformance, like massive underperformance, what's going to happen is other people are going to see that and see that, oh well, this is what we can get away with. You know how they say the old thing, you're only as strong as your weakest link? Because that weak link is going to teach all these other players what that they can get away with. And then all of a sudden, all the links start getting a little bit weaker and weaker and weaker. In some cases, you have to make a statement saying, nope, you're gone, and kind of shake things up a little bit. And it kind of puts people back in order and says, okay, well, shit, I didn't know that they would let that person go. Maybe they are a high performer in sales, or something like that. And they put up numbers, but their attitude shit.
Yep.
And then they would never let that person go because they produce. Sure. No.
Yep. Exactly.
Like, we've done that before and let somebody go, and we were worried about it. And I think we brought him back once, and then let him go again.
Just did great at sales, crushed it, hit all the numbers.
And as a business owner, we are worried about our numbers and our bottom line and all that stuff too. And so it's like, well, how's this going to affect us? And eventually, after so many years of us being in business, we've just got to the point where it's like the right decision is the right decision. And as long as you make it, and if that's requiring to let a high performer go in maybe producing, but attitude is shit, it's funny what happens. The right thing is the right thing because then the right thing ends up happening. But you just kind of have this weird scared feeling like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, to lose numbers and revenue might dip. And when we did that with one individual, the numbers actually increased because everybody's attitude was better. So it was it had the opposite effect of what we thought, but we kind of...
The new high performers were even higher performers.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I think a lot of people, because of the environment that we're in, it's so hard to hire or find people. I think a lot of people are just kind of holding on to people just because they want the bodies, right? Rather than the right people.
I have a little a pet peeve of mine is when I hear leaders at any level kind of brag about firing, right? Like it's okay to at some point when the guy needed to get rid of, you're like, I fired that fuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it should just be kind of between you and the owners and the high level leadership teams, because it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's like that person could remember it the rest of their life as a bad experience. So there is a little bit of extending grace to people when you're letting them go.
It's not like The Apprentice. I mean, I know that on TV it might look cool saying you're fired and like it looks cool or whatever, but that's not how it should go down at all.
Putting that energy, there's nothing wrong with that energy of I fired that. Like, thank God. Like you might have been letting that stew for a little bit too long. So what practices, what structure do you have in place?
We had a guy come
in.
into Coulter's office one time. And he was pissed off about the taxes are being paid on his paycheck. We're like, what do you want us to do about it? And it turned into this crazy argument. He's like, bro, I'm sorry. I got to let you go. Dude punches the window with the wires in it, like little windows. and like broke his hand, blood everywhere. We had to call the cops, file an incident report and everything. But we're like, and dude, honestly, I felt bad for this guy, but I was like so relieved because that guy was going to end up being just a threat to the entire company. Like he could punch somebody, you know? Like that guy had some major anger issues. But I was so like relieved to see him go, but I felt so bad. Like even that situation where that guy had to go, like I felt bad for him. That guy is carrying some anger.
I was going to say,
so
what is that motherfucker dealt with to
like
get to the point to where that's his life? Yeah. His life is punching a window to where the point.
It's crazy. He seemed great at first too. Like, oh, this guy's gonna be good. And then boom, 3-4 weeks in, we're like, whoa,
bipolar. Yeah, big time.
Well, that goes to what you said. You waited too long.
Like
probably has too much time passed to let them know that they're gone.
Well, that individual I think only worked for us for like 2 or 3 weeks, and he got his first paycheck and said, "You guys took money out of my check," and we're like,
"He's like, you're still in front
because
it was weird
because maybe he just saw. I think he just saw the deposit in his bank, and he was on commission. Mm-hmm. So let's say he made $1,000 in commission, but his check was $750 that he saw deposited, and so he was freaking out, saying that we didn't pay him his full check, and we freaking pull up the pay stub, and we're like, dude, here's what you made. These are called taxes. Right. If you're upset, be upset at the government, you know, move to Puerto Rico with their 4% flat tax or something. I don't know what to tell you, homie. But he was upset. And basically with that one interaction, Coulter's like, dude, this is not the type of person, like blaming the company for no, it's taxes. We don't have, we're not the state or the federal government.
That's not our job.
Yeah, like it is what it is. And so he just kind of spotted that one early on. Was like, bro, if this is the way you're coming at it, it's not going to work out. And then he started freaking out, and I heard some screaming in the hallway, and I went over there and went right up to his face and said, "Get the fuck out, dude! Like, get out right now!" And then he started walking and punched the window, and he's got blood on his hands, blood on the window and shit. Like, it was just weird, bro. But
I think that's one thing people probably appreciate about you guys. And that's one thing I've had some of the leaders that work for me say is like, Brian, we always appreciated your stores and working for you because it was always fun. You're always enthusiastic, energetic. You cared about everybody. But when there was a sour apple or a sour grape, it was quick to get rid of them.
You removed it.
So it was always this philosophy of raising the floor. So there's always 20 to 30% of your employees that aren't meeting expectations or some form of criteria that you've set for them.
Right.
Those are the people that you either need to start working on developing and getting them, lifting them up, because that's going to make your organization better.
Stronger. Yeah.
Or it's time for them to get off the bus. There's always room on the bus. So another principle that I live by is we're always hiring.
Right.
You're always hiring A+ players. Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah. Yeah. You even teams that win championships, they still, even on the off season, sometimes will add another piece.
Yes.
Right. You know, and they want to get stronger. I mean, look at the Warriors. They did that with Durant.
Right. Yep.
You know, they were already winning a championship or two without Kevin Durant, and then they recruited Kevin Durant for like 2 years or something like that he played on the Warriors. But they were already a championship team, but they're always open to more winners. Right? You can never have too many winners on your team. Mm-hmm. You can have too many losers. That's for a fact. But you can never have too many winners. And so I thought it was interesting as well how you guys do your hiring. Like
with the job fair format?
Yeah, the job fair format is a little bit different. Like I was concerned about that. I was like, I wonder if that works or what.
That was something I took from my previous life. That's how we built our stores. That was part of the store opening process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the job fair, and you wanted to hire your team at least 2 weeks before the grand opening.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a job fair, you notify, that community that, hey, we're having this job fair on Friday from
this time to
4 to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And you post it all over the place.
Well, I thought it was cool because then if people come in between those times, at least you're getting face-to-face interactions 100%. Rather than just pieces of paper that are resumes.
I've done it. I've been to one.
Have you?
Yeah.
At which one? Where?
Buckle.
At Buckle? Did you get hired?
No, I didn't.
Dude,
I had no experience in retail.
You didn't have what it takes to work at Buckle.
I needed to make some freaking money, bro. I was a brand new dad.
You didn't have what it takes to work at Buckle. You got what it takes to run an 8-figure business, though.
Yeah.
How weird is that, exactly. Right? So in some cases, hey, when something doesn't happen, sometimes it's actually
Dude,
a good thing.
They work though. Like I was there with. I can't remember how many people. There's a lot of people there waiting in line to get interviewed.
What was it when they first opened in the mall? Mm-hmm. And they were just originally trying to stock up the store and
brand new
going?
opening.
Yeah, no, I thought that was I thought it was interesting, and like I was texting Brent, I was like, "Hey, did you know how that job fair went?" Because I was like, "This is a tough market to hire, no doubt." Like but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Well, you know, we struggled.
Our hiring struggles are way different than that.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. But we still figured it out, and that's what people need to understand. Yes, we did. Look, here's the deal. Every company will have little ebb and flows of, issues or problems. And usually it's either not enough customers or too many customers, right? It never comes at the perfect trickle where you have the exact amount of clients you need for the size of business that you're in. And we've been growing quite a bit lately, and we've needed to hire 2 or 3 more accountants. And so we were doing that and trying to hire and trying to keep it local. But we came up with different concepts to figure it out, because it was very difficult in a smaller market to find 3 accountants in a small market that are of high level. They're probably already working somewhere at a high level. So it's harder to recruit high level type people like that. But we came up with a concept.
How do you guys typically do it?
We made it work. Usually we hire just in the local community, right? But when you're talking about high level people, there's few high level people in a small pond, right? And that's what we're in. We're in a smaller town. So we're like, let's open it up. Let's be a little bit more open-minded to remote accountants, right? And I did see a statistic like 2 days ago that said it was either 2026 or 2028 that 72% of jobs will have a opportunity to work remotely. Maybe not obviously in the food industry, but office type environments. It's starting to go towards that. COVID was kind of the first sneak peek at it's possible, and it can work, and it can work at a high level.
Right.
And so I think people are starting to their wheels are turning. And so let's fish in the pond called the United States, all 50 states, and let's put out an offer that's very difficult to refuse. So after 2 months of not really having a whole lot of hits in the local community, we went to Arizona. We came up with a strategy with our leadership mastermind that we do. And we came up with a little strategy. We came back, we implemented it. We had 69 applications within I think 3 or 4 days. Yeah. And so we just had to get creative and be a little bit more open-minded to adjust and to adapt to just the environment that we're in. And I think a lot of people do a terrible job of adapting or adjusting. They want to keep doing what they've always done because it's just the easiest thing to do. Well, this is how we've always hired, or this is how we've always done this process, or whatever it is. And the world is ever changing. So that means you have to always trying to be, one step ahead of this evolution of the world of 2021 going into 2022. I mean, it's just fucking crazy right now.
And then it's like you talked about retaining people,
churn. Yeah.
So what's your employee retention like? And in the fast food and the QSR space, it's pretty high.
Yeah.
And Everbowl ours is tremendously low.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to touch on building our first 25 stores and opening these stores up and bringing along kind of the store leaders as we went, and them staying for 2, 3, and even 4 years. And 6 of them coming up even into the corporate ranks now, and being the franchise coordinators, the franchise trainers, our head of product and logistics. We have a marketing coordinator that all started out like juniors and seniors in high school. Now are in Everbowl corporate. I think that's the coolest story. So shout out to Emily, Haley, Courtney, Jamie, KK, Nicole, everybody.
I just feel like you won an Emmy, son.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank God. This person, my mom, my dad.
Well, I think when on these things when it's cool to hear your name. When somebody name drops.
Yeah.
And so I feel
it's cool.
They do such a tremendous job.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
One question I've had I feel compelled to ask you, right? Because I feel like we all have these as leaders, right? We have these superpowers,
yes,
and they serve us very well, and they also, can be detrimental at the same time. I'm naturally a people pleaser, man. I like to serve people. I hate to let people down. And you mentioned earlier, you talk about I have investors to please. I have, Jeff and the team and the employee and the customers, all these people to please. And I'm showing up every day. I'm trying to be 1% better, right? And I can totally relate to that. And it's sometimes when you're a people pleaser or a servant of others, and that's your gift, it can also, you're like, man, I'm not serving myself lately, right? Yeah. And so I feel like you're the same type of person, the same type of leader. And so what kind of things do you do to serve yourself? Because I know there's never a perfect balance, right? But we have to try because we have to serve ourselves as well.
That's a great question.
So what are some things you do?
That's a great question.
Phenomenal question, because married to the company for the last almost 5 years.
Yeah. You made a lot of sacrifices.
And not a lot of outside time. I left my home. I left Corvallis, Oregon, and I moved down and basically just hit the ground running with Everbowl. And there's not a lot of downtime in restaurants. And so what I realized after 3 or 4 years in doing this is, the startup world is challenging.
Yeah, for sure.
It's really tough. And when so many people are dependent upon you, there's not a lot of free time. So the 7 p.m., next thing 8 p.m. comes, 9, you're still working on the business. You're still writing schedules for multiple stores. You're answering calls from 15 different people on different locations. So as we went into the franchise model, that allowed a little bit less of involvement on my side. So it gave me a little bit of free time. I was able to have a couple weekends this year, which is really awesome. So I take Sundays.
Hell yeah, a couple weekends. Shout out for a couple weekends.
I had a couple of vacations. So I went to spend a week in Austin this year. Went to Greenville. I haven't gone to Maui. I usually go to Maui every year and visit my sister.
Okay.
But I take Sundays off. I try and take Sundays, every single Sunday off, and I do my workout. I go walk the beach. I live in Del Mar, so walking to the beach takes me 10 minutes. Listen to a podcast and just kind of chill. Real business owners podcast is on there for sure. And I try and detach, step back from the business.
So you actually purposely say, okay, I need to go do this have an intent to detach rather than just kind of going through the motions. Like, I'm going to just go for a walk and hopefully detach. But then you're going on a walk only thinking about work the whole time, right?
And this might seem like a little out there, like new agey, but I actually take my shoes off, and it's usually nice weather.
You do that grounding shit,
I do the grounding shit.
Yeah. Bro, I have a grounding sheet. Have you seen that shit?
No.
You can buy them on the internet, bro.
But how the salt water has the negative ions too, right? Mm-hmm. So that walk 4 miles, so 2 miles down to Torrey Pines and then back, it resets my whole week. So I'm ready for Monday. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm a Monday TGIM. I love Mondays. Yeah. But I can't get there without my Sunday.
You got it. You got to serve yourself. And it might only be you serve yourself 10, 20% of the time.
Exactly.
Because you're giving 80% to other. You don't want to let those people down. But you got to make it a part of your strategy, because there's been times, and you probably felt that your first year in business when you weren't even taking a paycheck, right? Like
exactly.
You sacrificed a lot, right? And so, we've been through those times as well, where it's like, man, I'm just giving. And I'm like, you start feeling that burnout mode. You know what I mean? You got to serve yourself too,
Yeah, well, it kind of sneaks up on you sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when you have that thought, you're like, oh shit, I need to start focusing on me. So sometimes you let that slip because you're just so caught up in everything that's going on. And then you'll have those moments where you're kind of burnt out and you're like, damn, I need to kind of get back to doing some of the things that serve me. But to bring up the point, like, hey, I just kind of need that Sunday to recharge for those other, 6 days of the week. It's just like a phone. Mm-hmm. A phone can last all day, but it only needs an hour or two to charge, right? So I think people need to understand, like, when you're talking about recharging, that doesn't mean you need to be on vacation for an entire week. Mm-hmm. Find those little micro opportunities that are there for everybody. Maybe on Sunday, some of the people listening to it, they sleep until 10 or 11 and get their ass up and plop on the couch and turn on the TV and watch football all day. Really? And that's their recharge. That's not a recharge. Like, get out in nature, get out in the sun, go for a walk, move your body, make sure your blood is kind of pumping a little bit. So not only are you going for a walk, you're doing the grounding thing, which I totally believe in. You're also, putting good information in the mind while your blood's moving. You're on the ground, the surroundings are beautiful, and you're just able to take that micro day, so to speak, and recharge for a full another 6 days.
And I love that you said not plopping on the couch and taking your weekends and just hanging at a bar.
That's what some people call as a recharge. That's not a recharge.
Right. You're just working for the weekend.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you've seen the sayings out there, find a job where, your weekends, you're not just working for the weekends.
Yeah.
Like, your week is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I feel like we're at now.
Yeah.
Like, it is enjoyable.
No, that's
Have you guys grounded your beds?
Dude, I know. Literally.
How does that happen? How do you do that?
I read this article 3 years ago on grounding, and this dude, he's like, he does his time off with the takes his shoes off, gets out in nature, but he also runs a wire through his window to a rod in the ground and runs it to the base of his bed.
I have that. That's what I was saying. A grounding sheet is what it's called.
Oh,
it's
I was picturing like a.
No, you could buy a sheet and that's your sheet for your bed, and then you have your regular ass blanket over the top of you.
Yeah.
So my lady was talking about.
It runs outside into the ground.
So you have that option. There's another option where it has like another thing that you like put this magnet onto, and it puts these frequency through the sheets.
Wow.
Or you have the option. You know, we're on the second story of the house, so it would have to. But my wife's like, "Oh, it's long enough. We can do it."
I was like,
I'm like, "Are you going to be able to shut the window?" She's like, "Yeah, it wouldn't even be that big. It's like a small wire, but yes,
I've never done it, but
that
I've always
thing
like
goes
it's always
right
stuck
into the
with
ground, and then it comes through that wire right into your sheet, and you can. And
do you guys notice a difference with like intentfully grounding?
Bro, I've
had my shoes off. I'm like, man, this doesn't feel good, right? But I've never like done next level shit like that.
Bro, buy a fucking grounding sheet, dude. And when my baby's not in the bed, I sleep like a rock, dude. You know, when I got that thing kicking me, my little girl's over there, elbow kick, this, whine, cry, want a booby, you know, at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. But who doesn't want one at 3 or 4 in the morning? I can't blame her. But at the same time, you know, I don't get the best of sleep in those type of situations. But when my baby's not in the bed, I'm telling you, dude, like I sleep like a rock with that grounding sheet, and it's amazing.
I love that we touched on this and you asked that question, because I feel like sometimes we're so focused on business and grinding, and it's like that achieve world, and it's like that doesn't last, right?
You can grind yourself down to nothing, and then eventually get to the point where you just burn it all fucking down because you're just so burnt out, and you blame everything, your entire problem on your business,
right,
or on your work.
So
and you get resentment.
How do you take care of yourself? And outside of Sunday, I like to say that when I travel, one of the first things I do when I get to the hotel is I go get a workout in.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I go grounding.
Yeah. We usually do that too, just because you're just kind of foggy from traveling a little bit, and you got to
get the fog out when you do that.
Yes, you got to just get your blood moving and get your mind right again. But somebody was on like Ed Milet's podcast or something that said like, when you change time zone, it throws you out of whack a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, you travel in 15 states, a lot of different time zones or whatever, right? And he said, when you go to a new time zone, the first thing that you need to do is you need to go do some grounding, and literally it'll change your biological clock to where you're at, which I thought was super interesting. You know, I mean, I'm not a scientist or anything, so I'll take his word for it, you know.
There was a point where I was traveling so much during the summer that nothing bothered me. I could be anywhere, and it didn't matter.
Right.
Like it was basically sundown to sun up. Like I acclimated pretty quickly.
Yeah, your body's you throw so many curveballs at us, we're ready to hit them all.
To me, the most challenging time change is the 1 hour change.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just like that one little hour tweak, and you're like, oh wait, it's 10:30.
Yeah.
Oh wait, but it feels like 9:30.
Well, I hate when when I go back in time. Like
I know.
Like
so people reach out and they schedule appointments with me and stuff, and I'm in Central Time Zone and I'm scheduling appointments, and then when I come home, like it doesn't adjust. It's still on Central Time Zone, and so now I call an hour late and shit. Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
that's my biggest challenge with time zone changes.
But like if we go to Nevada, which is an hour behind, or California, which is an hour behind, it's like 8:30, and I'm like starting to zonk out. I'm like, damn, it's only 8:30, and I'm like, well, it's 10:30 at home. That's my bedtime. But then I feel bad going to bed at 8:30. You know, so I'm in this weird thing. But I love going forward because I get to look at the clock and it says it's 9:30 when it's really 7:30 at home, and I get to go to sleep because it's 9:30. It's what the clock says.
Well, I think Jeff kind of foresaw that a lot of traveling happening this year, and he looked at me. He's like, are you ready to travel a lot this year? Like that was January, February. And he like kind of saw that happening. Mm-hmm. And so I just prepped myself mentally to get into that space of I'm going to work hard, grind, stay on my agenda. And at the same time, I need to have that day.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you see people overuse like, oh, I need my self-care day, or self-care, like everything's self-care now. Yeah. But it's like I think you can overdo self-care to where you need your binky all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Instead of like you're not grinding, you're not achieving. And so finding that
balance. Don't overly reset to the point where you're just not really accomplishing as much because you're constantly reset.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You're constantly in this mindset now of like, I always have to be.
I was just talking to my wife the other day because like we've noticed all these kids that are like high school level and just out of high school, like my nephews, my son's friends, like all this stuff, like my like nieces, like all these younger kids that I know, they're like literally using this word all the time. And I'm like, what is this? And they say, oh, I need to take care of my mental health. And I'm like, we didn't talk like that when we were kids. Like, I get it. Mental health is important. We do need to take care of it. But like, it's weird that it's like this.
Well, it's almost to the
too,
point
where
it's conditioned and they're over abusing it as a way out of actually tackling what they really need to tackle in life. Guess what? It's fucking hard. Life is fucking hard. It is what it is, and it's not going to soften up for your mental health and be like, oh my God. The world's not gonna be, I feel so bad for your mental health. Let's go easy on you. The world gives everybody a lot of fucking problems, a lot of issues. And if we just say, oh, well, we're worried about this.
Well, he needs to pass. His mental health is like down right now.
Then how is anybody going to perform to the point where they can get successful if they're always just concerned about mental health, where the first problem that they see and it starts to fluster them? Guess what? As business owners or guys that are fucking running businesses, we're flustered like 90% of the time, and then that 10%, you get your little recharge so that you can handle all the other stuff. But
it's weird to me that that's becoming like a buzzword for the young kids.
Yeah,
very much so. Yeah,
I'm gonna start saying that. I'm gonna text you tomorrow because I can't come and do my mental
I think
health.
part of like, the human development side of things is the baseline of the human emotion, like Jordan Peterson says, is bad, is just content.
It defaults to negative.
Yeah, like we have so many peaks and valleys in life that less are going to be this high, like I love my job, I love my life, everything's great, it's vacation.
And I think that's what people are looking for.
And more of it's down here.
And they think because they're not up there that something's wrong, and that's not the case.
Yes,
you're not supposed to fly high 100% of the time unless you're high.
Right.
Exactly.
On something.
Yes.
You know,
so
like,
learning how to navigate,
in
a emotionally stable way when you have those difficult times, when you're going through a challenge, when you're building 50 stores in 5 years, to be able to go, you know what? I'm okay.
Find the habits or the routines or rituals that will help you perform at a high level and prepare you for the battle that you've got to take on every single week. The difference is the right people start looking forward to the battle. I can't wait till Monday, you know, so that I can go out there and tackle this and make progress, right? You start seeing progress going from 1 to 5 to 10 to now 52 stores. And it's almost like, hey, let's keep going because we're progressing. You're actually seeing the number grow, and there's actually satisfaction in what you're doing because now you're operating at a much higher level. Therefore, you can feel better about yourself. But if people get, if they don't touch that high and they're just kind of neutral and worry about their mental health, then they're never going to be satisfied because they're never going to accomplish anything.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a big issue that, we'll have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya to employees in 20 years.
The routine, like I shared a post, part of your guys' recent podcast where you talked about show me your routine, right?
Yeah.
And part of the routine in the morning for me is starting with gratitudes. So to me, that means control your vibe.
Yeah.
3 simple words. Right. Control your vibe in the morning. That's the first thing to do.
That's what I did today, dude. 12:21, and then you got 12:1, 21. I date them and just go through. I've tried to make that a priority.
I love that.
That's awesome. Of lately, because I've been in a little bit of a lull. Okay. Right. Ever since I got COVID, like 2 or 3 months ago, it just feels like I just haven't been normal. Right. I haven't had the same energy that I normally
haven't gotten back to 100%.
And I'm like, dude, I need. That's why my wife's buying grounding sheets and shit. She's trying to figure something out to help me kind of get back out of it or whatever.
So I can't live with you anymore, Trev. Try grounding.
Yeah, you're grounded. Please ground me to my room for like a day.
Yeah, I wanted to try COVID just to see what it was like.
Yeah, yeah. How was it for you?
Well, I have like Wolverine DNA, so it got out of there pretty quick.
Hopefully,
I got fucked up. So Trev, we got fucked up. And we didn't think it would happen because we're pretty healthy guys. But my lungs, I couldn't breathe.
He probably got the regular ass 19, bro. We got that DV, that Delta variant. So we got that DV, chronic, bro. It was pretty chronic recent. COVID, dude. The
we
DV.
had it at the same time.
Did you guys really same time?
Yeah, we got it flying back from Texas.
I was on phase one of 75 hard, and I'm like, I'm working through this. I even made a post like, fuck, I think I got COVID. I don't care. I'm gonna work through it. Trev's like literally hits me up that same night that I made that post, and he was like, bro, I don't know if I make it in. I'm wiped out. I was like, me too, bro, but I'm gonna work through it. And 2 days later, I was like, I went for a 5-mile run, and I came home. I'm like, I'm struggling breathing. I woke up, I couldn't breathe. I was like, And I was like, oh.
Yep.
So I had to stop my challenge, but
I was down for a week.
Yeah. That's about what I was. Is I was down for a week, but I just felt like I hadn't fully recovered. But at the same time, I look back and I just wasn't doing, because I lacked energy, I wasn't doing all the things that I normally did. And I was like, I don't feel like doing my gratitude. I don't feel like doing meditation. I don't feel like going to the, you know, because you lack energy. So you're not doing all the things that used to serve you, but it's hard to get to the point to, you know, having those things serve you if you can't just go through the muck when you feel like muck, you know, and pull yourself out of it. You can't just sit there and hope one day you just pop out of this little dark place. It just doesn't work like that. You got to fight like hell, and you have to go to war against yourself, against your mind. No matter what energy level you feel that day or emotion that you feel, you still got to honor the things that you know will serve you long term and help you get out of that funk just a little bit quicker, you know? And so that's what I've made it as a priority here the last few weeks. And, you know, I'll have good days, and then all of a sudden I'm, you know, tired again at like 3 o'clock, midday or whatever it is, right? Just kind of, but I'm starting to feel, and you know, things are chugging again a little bit better.
I think it's important to extend yourself that honor and that grace. To say that my 100% now is 70%. And so I'm going to do everything I did at 100% at 70%. And then my goal is to get to 80. And just incrementally just start getting better. Don't try and be you where you were 3 months ago.
I don't.
Just
I'm
little steps, and like, okay, this week I feel better,
right.
And because I went through that, and I'm usually like super high energy, but I was down for a month or two, after.
Sometimes I think,
you know, there's that
lull,
the hangover,
the
hangover.
Sometimes I think you do got to mix it up. Like I think routines and everything are super important. They're very important, but sometimes you get stuck in this like, well, I have to be this way. And I have to do this and that. Well, sometimes you need to mix it up a little bit, you know. I've noticed when I was working through ruts, I was like, well, no, I have to do this. I have to be disciplined. It's like, nah, I'm gonna change it up. And just like I realized I'm not getting out and like hanging out with new people. I'm not like in the community. I'm not like, you know, taking my wife on date nights because all these other routines are so important. So I had to mix it up, and I couldn't believe what a difference that made in my vibe. I was like, dude. Like just meeting those new people, going to a local concert with my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that, you know, and like,
so fulfilling,
you know, like just taking the time to go, like really just sit down and turn my phone off at my kids' baseball games, like instead of being on the phone because I don't want to get behind all the shit, right? I'm trying to be disciplined in all these areas, so I'm like, that's one thing that really helped me work through like my ruts recently. Is I'm like, I'm gonna switch my routine up a little bit. I'm gonna make getting out on these date nights, getting out in these social settings a part of my routine.
Well, the question is, are you really, like, if somebody's in a rut right now that's listening to this, are you like trying to analyze it, and are you really, or are you just bitching and complaining that you're in a rut? Like, I'm just in a rut. Like, if that's all you're telling yourself in your mind over and over, that's all you're going to experience. And you have to have these honest conversations with yourself. Like, hey, I'm not doing this, which I used to do when I was feeling good, or Kel, like, man, I need to switch some things up a little bit, because I'm just not feeling as fulfilled or whatever. Like the honest conversation has to happen, and then the action has to be taken behind it. And I think that usually that's what ultimately lacks self-talk is that self-talk and then action. Because some people know deep down, like, man, I'm really not doing all the shit I should be doing, but then they don't do anything about it. They still hope that maybe they'll climb out somehow naturally and then start doing the things that serve them when they feel better. And that's just not how it works.
That's huge. Words are so important. The NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. What are you saying? What are you saying about yourself?
It's very
that's
important. The most important.
About yourself, to yourself.
if everybody thinks that you're a loser, but you think that you're the man or the one, like the shit. All those people can't affect you.
Not at all.
They can't affect you. They can't. You just don't let them in.
Rising above.
The only opinion should be the one of that you think of yourself. And if the opinion of yourself is low right now, you better start doing some things that'll create an opinion of you that is of discipline, that is of positivity, of character, integrity, whatever it is, right? So that you can start identifying with those things, because you can't identify with them if your actions don't identify with them.
And as for a lot of people out there that maybe they don't have the strong mindset that we have, and that can overcome and rise above and have all of these routines and are in a good spot in life, that are dealing with COVID, the situation right now, in a much different light. Like it's hard times. And a lot of people are suffering mentally because they are just engulfed
in the bullshit,
in the media. And there's so many things that you can do outside of that to just regain your health on some levels.
Focus on you and control your actions.
Right.
There's going to be shit that's going to happen around us all through life that we can't control, but just narrow it down. Get tunnel vision on some of the things that you could do.
Listen to more podcasts, real business owners, and less news. You're going to get more information, more valuable information from podcasts.
That was a big energy suck.
It really is.
News during all the COVID shit.
And I don't think it's like, I'm not saying ignore. I'm just saying lessen.
Yeah, exactly.
So true.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want to have a beat of what's going on, but at the same time, you don't want to be like neck deep in the shit. You know.
Right. So, well, before we wrap it up, first of all, dude, such a treat. You know, and Trev and I talk about this all the time on the podcast. Like, all this stuff comes full circle because of, like we talked about today, our environments, our networks. Like, we're here today because we met Wags and Arte. We invested in Everbowl. We met Jeff. Now we're here. We got you. And you resemble exactly what we like to have on this show and in our networks. Just good humans, dude.
And the type of people that we like to put money behind, you know, like just the whole team in general. You talked about some amazing people, but a lot of people need to understand there's in every great business, there's a lot of unsung heroes that might not be, you know, the face of the business or the franchise. Like, any great brand or any great business has a lot of amazing people behind the scenes that are really the pulse of the business, that is the heart of the business. And Brian is just that. You know, he's not going to be, you know, all over the grams. Look at me, this, that. He's focused on what he has the ability to control, and that's opening more stores, giving his energy to the people, and just, again, controlling every situation that he has the ability to control with the right attitude behind it. And I think that that's why you've ascended to new levels. And I honestly think that there really is no ceiling for you. I think you're going to do amazing things with Everbowl and be around 5, 10, 15 years, and then probably do something even amazing after that, depending on, you know, what happens and what your goals are. But dude, we appreciate you, you know, coming on. I think I even said when we met you at Avengers that I'd love to have you on, because we were talking about, you know, how to take care of employees and people. And we were just vibing for like an hour, you know, and I just really connected with you. I was like, dude, this is the type of guy that we need on, because he's just, your heart and your mind is in the right spot, and you're just a good human being. And that's not just like podcast mumbo jumbo. Like, that's just real shit.
Authentic.
Yeah, dude, without a doubt.
We're finally launching our own little mastermind group. Like, we're going to start bringing our own community together. And it's just super awesome to have people like you a part of it. So hopefully, if your schedule permits it, one of these days, man, we ever want to bring someone in, talk about culture, because it's not really like a coaching program. We're going to obviously give a ton of mentorship, but it's really about doing exactly what we've been able to get from all of our mentorship groups, our networks, our masterminds. Is like, man, it's just turned into such beautiful things, like having you here today. And so hopefully, if it permits you to come up, have you do some training on culture and some of the things that you've learned with the people that we end up getting into our group.
Absolutely.
So, and it's just been a treat having you today.
Thank you guys so much. It's been really cool, and I appreciate the extension of being on your show, and it's awesome.
Now this Sunday you can go for your grounding session and listen to your damn self.
Absolutely.
You know? Well, and the funny thing is when we've gone back and listened to our own shit, we learn shit from ourselves.
Do you really?
Yeah. Because everything's going by so quick in a conversation,
totally.
You know, and your mind's going a million miles an hour when you're sitting in a podcast. So half the time you don't even remember what the hell happened during it, because it just goes by so quick. And you sit back and listen to it, you're like, damn, you know, like maybe we know what we're talking about.
Well, it's interesting. You know, we talked about a few things, but like culture being kind of the main thing. And what the coolest part of this with Everbowl, now that in the franchise model, is that we have 27 owners across the country with 200 plus stores, 15 states, and that most of them loved the culture part of Everbowl and building their teams in their community. And that's what's so exciting to look forward to, is that we get to kind of copy and paste that type of environment across the country. So now it's my job to kind of develop these owners into, you know,
to you.
Yeah.
To a certain extent.
Like, and they have their own strengths too.
Yeah.
Like they have their own coaching abilities. There's so many great people
just
out there.
All adapt to each other. Maybe you go around and learn stuff from them, and they learn stuff from you, and everything just continues to get better. Right.
You know, I think great leaders and great minds, they support each other. They raise each other up. So
I agree.
Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Brian was a treat, no doubt, you know, and I know that you guys will get value from it. If somebody wants to reach out to you, just say, hey, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for the nuggets. Or if they have a question about leadership or culture or whatever it is, how can they reach you? How can they find you?
Sure. So email's brian@everbowl.com, BRIAN, or on Instagram, it's Brian M as in Matthew Augustine.
Okay.
And hit me up.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes for you guys to locate him. He's just a good dude. He's a solid individual to connect with. Just say what up to. So make sure you show him some RBO love and thank him for coming on the show and taking time with us today. So, guys, make sure you're sharing this shit. Make sure that you're posting the reviews. You know, this November was a decent review month. I saw a lot come through. Sometimes it kind of goes through a little dip.
Yeah.
So make sure that doesn't happen anymore. Also, start engaging a little bit more on social media and Instagram, because we are kind of shadow banned.
Yeah, we've been shadow banned, dude. That's not fair to even our guests, man. They come out here, they make the time to be on our show, and then it's
we used to get like 20 to 50,000 views, and now we get like 3,000 to 5,000.
Well, and it's not fair to the community. You know, it's like if they're not seeing it because they're shadow banned, the people are seeing it need to share it and comment.
So make sure y'all support us even outside of the podcast on social media, because we definitely want to get the word out and help as many people as we can.
And then come to your new store in St. George.
And then visit Everbowl in St. George or wherever you're located, because it'll probably be coming soon.
That's
Hopefully
right.
we're the money behind it. On wherever it's at.
We're bought in for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So guys, take care. Till next week. Keep kicking ass.